question for you. Have you ever come across something brand new in a field you're fairly familiar with, been amazed by it, and thought to yourself, doggone it, why didn't I think of that? Well, this is one of those stories. Hi, I'm Doug Llewellyn, and our story focuses on a chap named Corky Underwood. Corky grew up around here in the hills near Glen Rose, Texas. He's been in the construction business most all of his life, and he knows virtually everything there is to know about heavy construction equipment, like those million-dollar monsters they use to build roads, down to a simple backhoe and equipment like this. In fact, almost 30 years ago, he actually started a company renting this kind of equipment to other contractors. He calls his company RECS, Rental Equipment Contractor Supply. Not too many years ago, he came up with an idea that, in effect, combined what historically took 2 machines to do down into 1. And the result has been spectacular. It has dramatically increased the speed in which contractors can finish their jobs, and it has enabled them to save a ton of money in the process. He called his machine the Bayonet. But before we meet the machine, let's meet the man, Corky Underwood.
I'm the operations manager for RECS, a company that my wife and I started 30 years ago.
And your wife's president.
That's correct. Early on in my career of excavating and being around heavy equipment, I saw the need for a faster way to go from hammering to digging and back to, hammering and digging. And over the years, as I ran excavators, track-mounted excavators and rubber-tired backhoes like you have here, we had hammers that we would put on these machines. But then when you took them off, it'd take 15 or 20 minutes to go from the bucket to the hammer, and then you'd have oil and the fittings and grease, and it was just a problem. It would work, but it just seemed to be old technology. With a bayonet, you don't have to worry about the refusal material, they call it, whether it be concrete, rock, asphalt, shale, or whatever. And so my concept, my whole plan here was to invent the perfect digging machine that will dig any material. There's 2 major things that you get out of the Bayonet Breaker. One is the speed that you can go from hammering to digging. The other one is the down pressure you gain off this bucket. For example, this rubber-tired backhoe right here weighs 14,000 pounds. The most it can push on this bucket is 7,000 pounds. So this 1,000-pound bayonet on here, it can put 8,000 pounds down pressure. That's more than any other backhoe in this class. It also gives you more breakout on when you're digging. An average machine will do 15-second cycles digging. This will increase your cycle time 3 or 4 seconds. At the end of the day, it's an hour savings that you got more digging done. Generally accepted construction practice is to have 2 machines, one with a hammer and one with a bucket. You have 2 operators, 2 insurance policies, 2 engines running, the whole wasting money like crazy. This machine has a carbon footprint of 50% compared to those other machines.
We work in rock every day. Sewer lines, gas lines, wind farms, wherever that they encounter rock, and the Bayonet's been a great tool for us. Before, we had to have 2 nose-to-nose, excavator hammering, excavator digging. Now, 1 machine does what 2 machines would do, so we can work in 2 different places at the same time. If you're going to work in rock, or if you're going to work in demolition of concrete, there's not a better tool on the market. I've had my rubber-tired bayonet probably 3.5 years. Still functions as well today as it did the day I got it. Other than just regular maintenance, we've had no problems with ours.
How long did it take you to come up with the formula and the idea to really make it work? How long have you been working on it?
About 3 years. When I finally got the design down, I enlisted some CNC draftsmen, applied their science to get all these locations perfected. We kept them in our rental fleet and used them ourselves for several years before we actually released any for sale. Having the rental company, RECS, has helped me as a platform to study this product and get it developed, because this is tough. Hammering is a tough business. Busting rock is hard. So all these components have to be manufactured to a high quality. This is a Corporal Bayonet. It's on a 36,000-pound excavator. This is just a power cell that we basically took out of a regular hammer. You can see how we have these brackets that trap that power cell in here to hold it in here. As the machine changes size, we change the size of this power cell, and this stuff here gets larger too to accommodate the different sizes. One of the features is that it hydraulically folds up, and there's a lock up here it locks into. All these hoses are configured with a swivel, and they all lock in place out of the way. The way this thing fits on, you can see it welds on. this plate welds on. There's that lock we were talking about. It's got these swivels right here, these trunnions that go in. You can see these tolerances are really close. And I did that on purpose to get this thing up and tight out of the way. This is your chisel here, and that's a standard chisel. You can buy it off the shelf. The product gets the first sale, customer service gets the second sale. And I'll tell you right now, we're going to keep it running. You can see it's locked up, and you got plenty of room inside the bucket here for material. This would be the configuration of this machine driving down the highway, for example, going to another job site. And we size these breakers, the bayonet, to the machine it goes on. So if this machine would normally have a 1,000-pound hammer, this bayonet's a 1,000-pound hammer. These different patents here, this one here is for the mechanical, the way it attaches to the machine. This one here is the hydraulics. I invented the circuits that divert the flow, got a patent on that. The name is trademarked. One of the things that's uniquely different about the bayonet is this Texas Green Certificate. And to get a Texas Green Certificate in the construction industry, you have to have at least a 50% reduction in your carbon footprint. Hammers traditionally beat the machine up. You're developing a lot of energy here that goes into the rock, and sometimes that energy is trapped and goes back into the machine. Manifests itself in cracks, blowed hoses, things like this. With a bayonet machine, you don't ever abuse you don't chop with a bucket, so you abuse the machine that way. And if it's just a straight hammer machine, then they dry fire it and pry with it and all this stuff because that's all they got. There's no bucket on there. The bayonet eliminates that. The minute you think it'll dig, you try to find out. You stow the bayonet, 3 seconds later you're digging. We can put them on Caterpillar, New Holland, John Deere, Case, just about everything that's made. Here we have a machine that just has a regular bucket on it, but notice it has the hydraulics. So all we have to do with this machine is weld our plate on here, hose it up, and within several hours we'll have a bayonet machine. So you can take the bayonet off really rapidly if you wanted to take it off for some reason. But I'll tell you one thing we have done. People that's bought them from us, we've moved them from machine to machine.
I do scheduling and production analysis for heavy highway work. We excavate trenches for utilities, for demolition of existing facilities. And this piece of equipment is exactly like we use. There you are, eliminated one piece of equipment from the operation, and you're able now to work much more efficient. One operator, one piece of equipment, one haul truck that has eliminated the need for you to be moving this equipment around. The time that it takes you to cycle in the piece of equipment to cycle back out to allow for the other piece of equipment to come to that position, you can reduce the total time that took you to do the work. Makes us, as a contractor, more competitive in the marketplace.
Well, it's not if you need a hammer, it's when, and you're going to need one. And with a bayonet, you got it with you all the time. And the real glory, let's say you don't need it. It's not in the way. You can dig with it all day long and never use the hammer. And that's the whole point. This is the ultimate digging machine. I'm just more amazed by it every time I use it. And what people do with them, how it just eliminates so much headache, so much baggage. There's engineering firms that won't even let you bid their work unless you have a bayonet machine. The CNC draftsman that drew it all up after we had it all done to get it in production called me up one day and said, "Corky, you're not going to believe this. Do you know that if you don't build it exactly like you have it, it won't work?"
And there you are, the real-life story of Corky Underwood, a guy who had a better idea and actually did something about it. He built the bayonet, and now he's selling them to others. And in the minds of many in the construction industry, it's the best idea to come along in years. I'm Doug Llewellyn, reporting from Glen Rose, Texas.